So, how did you find your why, and how can this why unlock transformative growth for your business? That's what we're going to discuss with Cherie Arellano today. But just before we do that, I need to tell you and give you a little reminder that if you are ready to unlock the power of purpose-driven business growth, then you need our free guide on how to find your why, brought to you by J. Taylor Media, that you can download at swywpodcast.com. Now, let's discuss how Cherie found her why. I am so pleased to introduce you to our first ever guest on the podcast today, Cherie Arellano. Thanks for joining us today, Cherie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Cherie is a realtor and the founder and CEO of Coveted Dwellings, a home staging and design company in Clarksville, Tennessee. She specializes in creating uniquely customized spaces and helping people buy and sell their homes. So Cherie, to start us off, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started your business.
I feel like it just kind of doors opened along the way. I don't think I set out to say, I want to be a realtor. In fact, this time last year, my boss at the time said, why don't you get your license? And I said, no way. I came from being a teacher for 10 years. And while I enjoyed teaching, I started to feel very stuck in the system and frustrated. And I don't know if it was because I was getting older and maturing more in my thinking of knowing what I wanted out of life. So then I realized parts of me were not getting fulfilled in teaching. So then I just changed my career and took a chance on being an assistant to a top agent in Clarksville. And just went from there, and everything snowballed. And now here I am only a year later with my own business and a realtor that is actually being pretty successful.
Amazing in just a year. And I think it's fantastic that if you thought on it a year ago, you would have been scared to even consider this. And then here you are.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I thought a realtor, paperwork. No, I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom from the paperwork because as a teacher, it started to become just a lot of checking boxes. And I felt like I wasn't able to really do the things that I know I'm good at, which is outside thinking. And I understood that, the district had ways that they needed to prove, if something's working or not working. But I started to just feel, but I know I can do X, Y, Z better. Mm-hmm. Maybe that sounds cocky, but I came from a freer district in California. But I think it's a good thing because then it pushed me. And now I feel very limitless. And, I needed that little, I guess, the walls closing in on me in order to be empowered enough to push them away.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think it's super interesting to think about what otherwise in another venue would have felt like busy work is now something that is a part of your passion because you have a different purpose. When you were in teaching, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm just checking the boxes. But when you look at, being a realtor and designing homes, that paperwork is no longer checking boxes. It's like stepping stones to fulfilling your purpose. So talk about that moment where you realized this is no longer fulfilling my purpose, because that's a pivotal moment for especially entrepreneurs that are going to start a new enterprise. What was that moment like for you? And how did you realize and reflect, like, this is not filling my cup anymore?
It was very emotional for me. I felt like I was failing the kids. I felt like I was failing my family, my future, because I spent so much money and time going to college to be a teacher. And I loved making a difference in kids' lives. I really did. And so for me, it was very emotional. I just felt like I spent all this money. Why am I not happy? I should be happy. This is what I worked so hard for. And I felt like a little bit of, I was supposed to be in servanthood. And so by getting out of that, I wasn't contributing to my community. It almost as if it wasn't me being a good community member by ditching the teaching field, even though I was unhappy and it wasn't working for me anymore. I felt almost like I needed to be, I guess, a martyr in some odd way, not only to myself, but to my community. And someone said to me, I kept applying for all these different positions and positions that I had already, but out here I was not getting them. I have a master's degree and was just not getting anywhere. I was just stuck. And someone said, well, maybe the doors in education keep closing on you for a reason. And I was like, hmm. And then we kind of, when the pandemic hit and we were all shut down, I had that freedom to sit down and really think about what could I do now that I have this time, to really think about it and see what I like. And I loved spending time with my kids. I loved the freedom to teach them what I wanted at that time. Just, I keep saying that word freedom, but that to me, I think was what drew me in to say, you need a career that you can pick what you want out of life. And so I went for it. I applied for a job and got it. I came and brought, I had education experience. I had no really assistance experience, but I had several magazine articles and awards or whatever. And I just brought it and tried to convince, this is me. This is what I'm worth. And I'd love to give it a shot. And they hired me. And then it just went from there. So.
And I think we've all of us entrepreneurs that got out of one industry and decided to do our own thing or start our own business had that moment of gridlock of feeling this is not working, I'm not feeling fulfilled, but also there's that moment of almost denial of, can I even do this? Should I stick with what I already know? And it's so inspiring to hear how you navigated that realm of almost the false dichotomy of, I have to do this because I've already invested in this. I already have degrees in this. I have experience. I have to be this martyr. And that's not necessarily the truth, right? Like, you had more options. And I think that what you shared is really inspirational to people who are in that moment right now, where they're in a career or they're in a job that they feel that they're tied to or cornered in. The reality is you're not. You can choose to start a new career at any time. It's never too late to chase your passion.
Right. And I started to change my mindset as well, thinking it's not that I was born to be a teacher. It was that I have a skill that I enjoy that is teaching. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that I need to stick within a school district. While I'm in this new industry, here I am now sharing a story and teaching, educating. I'm just teaching something else. I'm teaching to follow a passion. I'm teaching, inspiration, how to, as I'm learning, now I'm sharing what I've learned. So it's just a different style. And I think in any career, you can take the skills you've learned and what really light you on fire and just do it in a way that now fits, what fits within the parameters of whatever passion you have. And as a teacher, I was really trying to do that, really trying to build on the outside of the box thinking. But unfortunately, the person I was working with was not that same type of a thinker. But like I said, I think it was a good thing because it really forced me to say, okay, if I can't do it here, I'm going to do it somewhere else. I'm going to be me somewhere else. And that's what I did instead of just accepting it. So it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that when you find your why, you'll know your way. So subscribe to the podcast for more tips on finding your why, and make sure to download our free guide on how to find your why at swywpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your own story of finding your why. Follow us on Instagram at swywpodcast and add to the discussion. So, Cherie, your passion, you talked about freedom. You've talked about being able to utilize every part of yourself to bring something creative, to think outside of the box. What would you say is your why for working in real estate and coveted dwellings? Like, what is it that you are bringing to your clients beyond staging the home? Like, what is it that you believe in that you're trying to enable in them?
I've always just loved the art of anything, really. And home decor is a part of that. So for me, when I go into a house, I really feel, and even when I purchase any of my own houses, I could really feel it speak to me on, this is what would look amazing in this house. And even when I walk into a client's house, I can feel it. And I'm excited for when they're selling. I get excited to be able to transform it so it appeals and it helps the seller. I understand that not everybody has that same passion for decor or even the same eye on what would look good where. And so when I go to sell, I really want to appeal to a broad range of people, almost everybody, right? And I
Mhm.
think that I just happen to have over years built that skill to know what makes someone feel peace when they walk into a home. And so that's my goal when I'm selling somebody's home is anyone walking in feels at peace in there, even with the decor that my clients have already. I just will walk in and most of them so far have just said, yeah, do what you got to do. And I'll rearrange things or shove some things in drawers. I'm like, that's where I put that so you don't forget. So, and then even when buying, I do have a handful of buyers I've worked with. And same thing, I like walking into the home and then just sometimes helping them to envision what it would be like to decorate in there and live in there and to feel at home in there.
Wow, that's a really powerful purpose is to help people envision how they can feel a sense of peace in their own space. How has this passion fueled your business growth? Like, how do you talk about your business? How do you share your story with people?
Oh, well, I feel like that is something that I really had to work hard on. I think I sat back for a long time and watched and observed and then read and talked with the community and knew people, and which is hard because I was always and I still am very much an introvert as far as getting exhausted when I'm around a lot of people, but now it's almost feeling it. Yes, I'm exhausted, but I'm excited to go have a meeting with someone I don't know because I know that I'm going to come back with something valuable. And so I feel like that became the most important part for me is just meeting new people and going places that I'm not comfortable in. I was nervous meeting people in the community because there are some amazing community members that know so much about real estate, about business. And here I am, who am I really? Just someone who lives in the community. That's it. Trying to claim that I can help you. But I think my love for the community, my passion for it, people coming in, wanting to show them, look what our community has to offer, just kind of snowballed and grew everything and drove me to want to learn more and then share that. But as far as the how to sharing, I've just connected with people that help me learn that give me a chance to, try a podcast and then it just keeps going. And I have found that a lot of people in this community really want to help people grow with the business.
Yes.
Huge. I learned so much just by people sharing on there and then connecting with them, going to one of their events and hearing them talk. Even if I didn't have to talk, I would listen. And I think that was the major part in starting is I listened.
Mhm. I think it's important to remember that so many of us can wrestle with imposter syndrome at the beginning of starting something like this. And, like you said, who am I? I'm just somebody who lives in the community. But the more that you share your purpose and your why with people, hey, I'm passionate about creating spaces that bring people peace, that allow them to see the best in themselves in their home, it opens people up. Like people open up when you do. And I love hearing that from you, that the more you leaned into that sometimes uncomfortable place of putting yourself out there and calling yourself an expert, which you are. It can be scary, but the minute that you show up, you believe in yourself, and also you listen and you learn from others, the world opens up for you and things just start connecting.
Yes. And I also think I didn't come at this with I want to make XYZ. I came in with, I just want to get to know more people. And I created relationships with people.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to know more about me. And I think that really helped.
All right, now we're going to do a segment we call Game Changing Growth Hacks. Cherie, what is a tool or approach for growing your business that you swear by?
Getting to know the people, the person you're with, getting to know the community around you, whether it's your circle that starts to collect those around you, but really getting to know them because then they just naturally are drawn to want to know what's going on with you. And it's not necessarily something you have to put out there in black and white. They just kind of see it through you.
The power of strong relationships. Very good tip. All right, Cherie, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. To our listeners, thank you so very much for listening to this episode of the So What's Your Why podcast. If you liked the episode or if you think it would be useful to someone else, please leave a review over at podchaser.com. If you have any questions, let me know on Instagram at SWYW Podcast. And remember, when you know your why, you'll know your way.